Welcome to Empowered by Self-Love, the podcast. I am your host, Jessica Fuentes, and this is the Reinvention series, a space where self-love, confidence, and leadership come together through real conversations and honest reflection. In here, we explore what truly means to reinvent yourself, not by becoming someone else, but by reconnecting with who you are, honoring your journey, and leading your life with intention. This podcast is brought to you by Empowered-SelfLove LLC, where self-love becomes confident leadership. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing this space, this conversation, and this time for yourself. Whether it is your first time listening or if you've been part of this community since season 1, you are welcome here. This podcast exists as a reminder that growth is personal, leadership is human, and self-love is not optional. It's foundational. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's begin. Hey there, and welcome back to Empowered by Self-Love, the podcast. My name is Jessica Fuentes, and this is the Reinvention series. Today's episode is one that I believe every single person listening will relate to in one way or another. Because whether we realize it or not, we are all storytellers. Not just storytellers about the world around us, but storytellers about ourselves. We create stories about our worth, about our capabilities, about love, about success, failure, about what we deserve and what is possible for us. And over time, those stories become beliefs. And those beliefs begin to shape our decisions, our confidence, our relationships, our careers, and ultimately the direction of our lives. And sometimes, without even realizing it, the very story we keep repeating becomes the thing that holds back our potential. So today, I want us to explore something important. How many of the limitations we live with today were actually created by the stories we repeated in our minds over and over again? Because sometimes the most damaging thing that ever happened to us wasn't the breakup, wasn't the rejection, it was not the layoff, and it was not the failure. Sometimes the most damaging thing was the meaning we attached to it afterwards. The story we created from the experience. And that is what I want to talk about today. This topic matters because stories become identity. If you repeat something long enough, your mind begins to accept it as truth. And the scary part is that many of us are living inside stories that were created during moments of pain, rejection, fear, embarrassment, trauma, or loss. A relationship ends, and suddenly the story becomes, I am not lovable. Nobody wants me. Nobody's gonna stay with me. You apply for jobs and don't get interviews, and suddenly the story becomes, I'm not good enough. Nobody's gonna call me. Why should I even try to apply to that position? You get laid off, and suddenly the story becomes, I failed. I am not good enough. They got rid of me. Who's gonna want me? You struggle financially, and suddenly the story becomes, I will never get ahead. I will never get out of debt. How am I gonna be able to travel and achieve those dreams that I always wanted to achieve if I'm so full of debt? You compare yourself to others, and suddenly the story becomes everyone else is more capable than me, or everyone else is better than me. And little by little, we begin shrinking ourselves. Not because we truly lack value, but because our internal narrative convinced us that we do not have the value that we actually do have. The story becomes a filter. And once we believe this story, we start acting from it. We stop applying to jobs. We stop trying. We stop speaking up. We stop taking risks. And we stop believing in ourselves. Not because we cannot grow, but because we already decided internally that growth wasn't available to us. And this is where I really want to focus today, the professional side, because I have seen incredibly intelligent, capable, talented people completely underestimate themselves. People with experience, with ideas, people with leadership potential, people who could absolutely transform their lives, but internally they still carry stories like, I'm just an assistant, or I am too old to start all over, or I don't have enough education, I'm not leadership material, I'm not confident enough, I don't belong in those rooms. And what's interesting is that many times the outside world isn't even limiting them anymore. They are limiting themselves before the world even gets the chance to. The story already decided the outcome. And that is powerful. It's powerful because the moment your story changes, your behavior changes. You start preparing differently. You start to speak up differently, showing up differently, taking chances, taking opportunities differently, and eventually your life changes too. For a long time, I personally carried stories that made me feel small. I told myself so many times, I am just an office manager. I am just an assistant. As if my title somehow determined my value. I told myself that maybe I wasn't worthy of a healthy love because the good relationships never stayed. I told myself I wasn't enough because I was a single mom. And when you repeat these stories long enough, they begin to feel factual. But they were never facts. They were never real. They were emotional conclusions created during difficult moments. And one of the biggest transformations in my life happened when I realized I didn't need to stay loyal to those old stories that were destroying me. And that realization changed everything. So now let's talk about relationships for a moment. Imagine someone goes through a painful breakup. Maybe they love deeply. Maybe they gave their everything, they gave their all, and they were betrayed, abandoned, rejected, or simply not chosen. Now, the pain itself is already difficult. But then comes the dangerous part, which is the story they create afterward. I was not good enough. I will never find real love. There must be something wrong with me. Everybody leaves. And suddenly, one painful experience becomes a permanent identity. But what if the breakup wasn't proof that you're unlovable? What if it was proof that two people simply lacked the emotional tools, the maturity, the alignment, or the capacity to build something healthy together? What if two people simply were not meant to be together? Those are two completely different stories, and one of them destroys you, and the other one helps you grow. So now let's look at this on the professional side. Let's say someone applies to 20 jobs and gets rejected. The story could become, I am not qualified. I am not smart enough. I will never get hired. But another person could experience the exact same thing and say, maybe my resume needs improvement. Maybe I need interview coaching. Maybe I need to learn how AI systems work. Maybe I need to strengthen my confidence. Or maybe this is just a matter of preparation. Or maybe this is preparing me for something better. Same situation, different story, different outcome. And this is what people often forget. Growth requires a learning curve. Confidence is not something you magically wake up with one day. It is built through repetition, through discomfort, experiences, failure, adjustment, and resilience. Nobody starts as the polished version of themselves. Nobody. We grow into it. I also want to acknowledge something important here, because life is not easy. There are moments that genuinely hurt deeply, like a loss, a disease, trauma, financial struggles, divorce, grief, disappointment, an unexpected tragedy. We all experience moments that shake us. And this episode is not about pretending pain doesn't exist. And it is not about toxic positivity either. Pain is real. But today's conversation is about what happens after the pain. What story do we create from it? Because while we may not control every experience life brings us, we do have power over the meaning we assign to those experiences. And that meaning can either imprison us or transform us. So I want to share with you 5 steps that can help you transform the story you tell yourself. And the step number 1 is to become aware of the story. The first step is awareness. You cannot change a narrative without having identified it. Pay attention to your internal dialogue. What do you repeatedly say to yourself? Do you say things like, I'm not capable, I am too late to apply for that, I always fail, I never get chosen, I am not attractive enough, I'm not leadership material? Awareness changes everything because it allows you to separate yourself from the story. You begin realizing, I am hearing this thought, but that does not automatically make it true. The step number 2 is to question the story. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Was it created during pain, during rejection, during my childhood, during a failure? Am I comparing myself? Is it because of a traumatic experience? Most importantly, is this story objectively true or emotionally familiar? Because many times we confuse familiarity with truth. Just because you've experienced something for years does not make it accurate. Step number 3, replace limitation with possibility. This does not mean lying to yourself. It means shifting from destructive language to constructive language. So instead of saying, I will never succeed, say, I'm still learning. Instead of saying, I am not confident, say, I am building confidence. Instead of saying, I failed, say, this experience is teaching me something. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to progress. Step number 4, take actions that supports the new story. This part is critical. A new story without action remains a fantasy. If you want to become more confident professionally, invest in learning. Invest in improving your resume. Practice interviews, network, take leadership opportunities, develop communication skills, work on emotional intelligence. Your actions begin reinforcing the new narrative, and every small win starts proving to your mind that you are actually capable. Step number 5, invest in yourself continuously. And this may be the most important step of them all. To invest in yourself, not only academically, but emotionally and mentally. Because many people invest thousands of dollars into education while completely neglecting their emotional well-being, their confidence, their self-worth, their communication patterns, and their mental health. And yet, those internal factors affect everything: your leadership, your relationships, your decisions, your opportunities, your confidence, your career, and your happiness. Growth is continuous. Reinvention is continuous. And becoming a stronger version of yourself is one of the greatest investments you will ever make. At the end of the day, the story you tell yourself becomes the foundation of the life you build. Because the mind is always listening. It listens when you say, I'm not enough, I'll never succeed, I always fail, and I don't deserve more. And over time, those words stop sounding like thoughts and they start sounding like identity. But imagine if your mind is capable of believing those things. Imagine what it could happen if you begin to change the narrative. And instead of saying, I am broken, you say, I am rebuilding myself. Instead of saying, I am behind, you say, I'm evolving at my own pace. Instead of saying, I failed, you say, I learned a way that doesn't work. Because the truth is, life will challenge all of us. There will be heartbreak, disappointments, loss, moments where you question yourself, moments where you feel exhausted emotionally, mentally, professionally, financially, and even physically. But your power is not in controlling every experience life brings you. Your power is in deciding what those experiences will mean to you. Will they become proof that you should stop? Or proof that you are capable of rising again? Because every challenge in your life is shaping something within you: resilience, wisdom, depth, strength, self-awareness. And sometimes the version of you that emerges after the struggle is far more powerful than the version that existed before. So maybe today is the day you stop repeating those stories to yourself to keep you small. Maybe today is the day you stop defining yourself by rejection or by failure or by pain or by somebody else's inability to see your worth. Maybe today is the day you begin telling yourself a different story. One where growth is possible. One where healing is possible. Where reinvention is possible. One where your past is no longer the author of your future. Because the moment your internal story changes, your decisions begin to change. Your energy changes. Your confidence changes. Your standards change. And your future changes. And one day you will look back and realize the life you wanted began the moment you stopped believing the story that said you couldn't have it. As we close today's episode, I want to thank you, truly, for being here and for sharing this space with me. If something you heard today resonated with you, allow yourself to sit with it. Reflection is where clarity begins and where reinvention quietly takes shape. Remember, growth doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty, self-awareness, and the willingness to keep showing up for yourself. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can follow me on social media or visit my website. You will find all the links in the episode's notes. Thank you for choosing this moment, and thank you for choosing yourself. Until next time, lead with intention, move forward with compassion, and trust the journey that you are